Trade refers to the act of process of buying, selling, or exchanging commodities and services. By the end of the session, you should be able to define trade. Historically, trade has been classified into barter and monetary trade. On the other, involves use of money in acquiring goods or commodities. Barter trade has almost been replaced by monetary trade. Monetary trade has the following levels: internal, regional, and international. Internal trade. This is also known as domestic or local trade, and it involves buying and selling of goods within a country's borders. Internal trade is also classified into wholesale. This involves the buying of goods in bulk from a producer and selling to traders for resale. Retail trade. This is selling of goods to the final consumer at a profit. There are small-scale retail trade and large-scale trade. Examples of small-scale retail traders are roadside sellers, kiosk traders, and shopkeepers. Regional trade. This refers to trade between countries neighboring or within the same geographical region. For example, trade between Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, which is East African Community. Others are SADC countries, COMESA countries, Ecowas countries, and European Union countries. International trade. This refers to trade between two or more countries. Trade between two countries is known as bilateral trade. That is, the two countries buy from and sell to one another goods. Trading involving more than two countries is called multilateral trade. The goods sold to another country are called exports, and those bought from another country are called imports. Imports involve buying goods from other countries. Imports can also be visible or invisible. Visible imports are tangible goods that a country buys from another. Examples are crude oil, pharmaceuticals, and motor vehicles. The invisible imports are consultancy, for example, engineers or doctors, for example, foreign airlines, and banking and hotel services, which are foreign. Exports are also divided into visible and invisible exports. Visible exports are tangible goods such as coffee, tea, and textiles, while invisible exports are services which can earn foreign exchange without transfer of goods from one country to the other. Expatriates that go to other countries, tourists that come to Kenya, insurance, and banks. Factors that influence trade. There are several factors that influence trade. These are natural resources, economic unions, economic development, population, nature of exports, transport and communication, capital, security, political relationship, trade restriction, different currencies, different technological levels, and existence of aid to trade. Demand and supply. Demand refers to the desire or need to purchase a particular good or services. Only demanded goods will be stocked by traders. Supply refers to availability of goods. The presence of goods encourages traders to buy goods and make them available to those who need them. Difference in natural resources. Different regions are endowed with different resources. Due to this, countries specialize in producing particular commodities, making it necessary to trade with other countries for those goods that they don't produce. For example, Kenya is endowed with trona and therefore exports it to other countries like Philippines and Japan. Malaysia produces rubber and exports to Britain. Economic unions. These are associates among countries in a region formed to promote regional trade. Types of economic unions: free trade area and the common markets. The free trade area. These are not having restrictions to the member states with regard to trade. Common market. These are like free area association, except that they raise the tariffs for non-members trading with them. The common markets lead to economic integration, which eventually leads to even political integration. Examples of trade blocs are East African Community, Common Markets for Eastern and Southern, COMESA, Southern African Development Community, SADC. Stage of economic development. Most of the exports from developing countries are semi-processed or just in raw form. However, as security develops, these raw materials exported that fetches low returns are processed into finished products, and this makes the country to reap more foreign exchange. For example, Japan as a country that used to import the manufactured goods is nowadays a major exporter of the same. Population. Densely populated countries have large volume of internal trade, but may have a relatively small volume of internal trade as whatever locally. For example, China produces a lot of rice but doesn't export it. A large population should also provide a large market for imported goods, but if purchasing power of the people is low, the demand will be low. Population also determines the provision of labor for both agricultural and industrial production of commodities. Culture also affects the type of commodities traded. For example, beverages such as alcohol and pork products are prohibited, hence low demand, thus low trade. Nature of exports. Countries that export agricultural products in developing countries in raw form fetch prices in the international markets. Such countries import manufactured products such as machineries, motor vehicles, and pharmaceuticals, which are high priced in international trade, hence creating an advanced balance of trade. Countries that export manufactured products have favorable balance of trade due to high price of their products. They import agricultural products which are low priced in international markets. Transport and communication. Adequate and efficient means of transport and communication are essential for successful trade. Goods have to be moved from the producers to consumers. Means of communication such as telephones, fax, and internet also enhance communication efficiency in trade. Capital. Most developing countries have inadequate capitals. This hinders large-scale production of commodities, thus limiting international trade. Where there's a lot of capital, more advanced and efficient production technique can be put to use, thus reducing cost of production. This increases trade. Security. Trading prospers when security is assured. When there is more security in a country, it creates an environment which is conducive for trade, and in case of insecurity, trade is limited. Political relationship. Trading among countries can only take place if the countries involved relate well. Political hostility discourages trade and sometimes lead to total bans. For example, Iraq, under the rule of Saddam Hussein, suffered trade sanctions because of her military invasion of Kuwait. Trade restriction. Trade restrictions include tariffs. These are taxes levied on imported articles or products. Quotas are specified quantities of goods which must not be exceeded during importation or exportation. Trade agreements are made between different countries regarding foreign trade. Total bans are imposed on specific imports by a country to the domestic industries. Trade restrictions affect both internal and external trade. Use of different currencies. Use of different currencies among countries can act as an obstacle to trade because of varying rates of exchange. For example, the fluctuating rates of exchange experienced in Kenya in 2004 made the imported goods very expensive. When a common currency is in use in a region, for example, European Union countries, transactions between the countries become easier. Different technological levels. Developing and industrialized countries are at different levels of economic development. This means that they produce different goods. The difference in value resulting from such trade, agricultural goods, or manufactured products is responsible for the advanced balance of trade, especially in developing countries. Demand and supply. Demand refers to the desire or need to purchase a particular good. Trade restriction. Trade restrictions, use of different currencies, different technological levels. Developing and industrialized countries are at different levels. Existence of aid to trade. Aids to trade include banks. These are essential as they facilitate storage and transfer of the money used in trade sanctions. Insurance. Insurance facilities are important to secure the trader's money and business premise against various risks such as theft or destruction by fire. Warehouses are essential for the storage of Kenya quantities of goods for sale. Therefore, banks, insurance facilities, and warehouses promote trade. Major exports and imports of Kenya. In this session, we shall identify the major imports and exports of Kenya. The table provided shows major imports and exports. Significance of trade to Kenya. This refers to how trade impacts on the social, political, and economic spheres of a country. Economic growth. Trade makes goods available where there is demand. This stimulates specialization in the production of goods, since each region produces the commodities in which it has comparative advantage, thus heading to industrial development. The country's economy is diversified. Produce are exported, thus earns foreign exchange for development of the other sectors as education and healthcare. Industrial growth. A high demand for goods both locally and abroad stimulates industrial growth. This is because more industries are set up in order to satisfy the increased demand for goods. Specialization. Trade stimulates specialization in production of goods. This leads to production of quality products. Earning foreign exchange. External trade enables the country to earn income or exchange. The revenue got from this trade is used to set up industries to increase its exports, and hence more revenue. Creation of employment. Domestic trade creates employment opportunities in such areas as wholesale and retail shops. Many Kenyans are also employed in sectors dealing with foreign trade, such as customs in clearing and forwarding farms. Development of infrastructure. Efficient means of transport and communication are required for trade to succeed. Kenya is trying to improve her transport system by building new roads and maintaining the existing rail, air, and water transport. Telecommunication services have also been expanded to enhance trade, for example, through internet. Market for goods. Trading ties with other countries provides probable outlet for a country's surplus production, thus encouraging more production of commodities, leading to economic growth. Exploiting existing natural resources. Natural resources are exploited for purposes of trade. For example, the growing demand for freshwater fish has led to more exploitation of water resources in Kenya so as to meet the demand. Availability of commodities. Trade between different countries ensures availability of a wide range of goods. The consumers thus have a variety of goods to select from so as to satisfy their needs. Improvement of quality products. Trade leads to the manufacture of goods with better quality so that they can compete in the local market as well as in the international market. Development of other related activities. Trade stimulates the development of various activities such as banking, insurance, and warehousing. These activities are very essential for the traders to carry out their trading activities. Development of settlements. Many towns start as small market centers, but with increased activity, more people move to settle in the centers and to carry out trading activities. The variety of goods offered increases, thus markets grow into small urban centers, and these also later develop into big towns. Examples of such towns are Moyale, Namanga, Mandera, Busia, and Taveta. Regional cooperation. External trade enhances cooperation among the trading partners, and this therefore fosters peace, harmony, and international understanding and cooperation. Development of settlements. Many towns, significance of major exports and imports of Kenya. In this session, we shall significance of trade to Kenya. Major exports and imports of Kenya. Problems facing trade in Kenya. Trade in Kenya is faced by a number of problems. These are the nature of the Kenya's exports and imports. The exports from Kenya are mainly agricultural, which mainly depends on the climatic conditions, which makes the yields to fluctuating yields rest, and herein also affects the agricultural output. These agricultural products are either exported in raw form when semi-processed, thereby making Kenya to fetch lower returns of foreign exchange as they are lowly priced. The imports of Kenya are those that are not available locally. They include crude oil, machinery, motor vehicles, iron and steel, pharmaceuticals, chemical and fertilizers. These goods are of higher value and so cost more than the exports, and so making Kenya to have adverse balance of trade. Value of Kenya's export. The nature of Kenya's exports are in raw form or semi-processed, hence the total earnings are low. Historically, trade refers to the act of process of buying, selling, or exchanging commodities and services. Problems facing trade: fluctuation of prices in the world. The earnings from exports depend on the quality of goods exported and demand for them in the world market, which is also influenced by changes in taste. Decreased world prices for Kenya's exports cause farmers' income to decline, and this demoralizes the farmers, who now reduce their output. Ignorance about goods. Some traders are hardly aware of goods from other countries due to inadequate advertisement of such goods. For example, Kenya exports fruits and horticultural crops, and the same could be imported from overseas by some African countries because they may not be aware that Kenya offers the same products. They would also be biased about the products from the same continent. Competition from cheaper sources. Local manufacturers have to contend with foreign firms that dump their goods in the local markets at cheaper prices. Some of the goods from COMESA region do not attract tariffs. This creates unfair competition for some local products whose cost of production is high. Counterfeits also find their way into local markets, creating unfair competition for genuine products. Trade restrictions. Unexpected restrictions are imposed on Kenyan exports. For example, in 2000, the European Union banned the importation of fish from Kenya. This affected fish exports in the country. Inadequate transport and communication facilities. Poor transport network affects trade in Kenya, hence certain products cannot reach the market on time. For example, poor transport between Kenya and Somalia hampers trade between the two countries even though they are neighbors. Smuggling and corruption. Kenya loses a lot of revenue when some traders smuggle goods to neighboring countries or imports goods without following the proper import channels. These traders collide with corrupt custom officials at the entry points of the goods, resulting to undervaluing or clearance of the goods without the required tariffs being paid. The future of international trade in Kenya. We have discussed factors that influence trade in Kenya and the problems experienced. In this session, we shall discuss the future of international trade in Kenya. The government encourages production of high-quality goods which are competitive in the world market. The quality is ascertained by the national standard body, that is, the Kenya Bureau of Standards. The government facilitates organization of trade in the area. Nairobi International Show, which enables the business community to advertise their products and facilitates promotion of tourism in the countries of major tourist origin. The government imposes tariffs on imported goods so as to discourage importation of non-essential and luxury goods. These tariffs also protect the local industries. The government has created the Ministry of Trade and Industry to oversee matters relating to trade in the country. The government has made efforts to provide the necessary infrastructure such as roads and telecommunication, which has made it possible for the business community to easily access them. For example, recarpeting of the Nairobi-Mombasa Road after the massive destruction caused by the 1997 El Nino rains. Signing of the International Trade Agreement on COMESA was a step towards increasing Kenyan trade. She enjoys forwarded balance of trade in her trade with COMESA countries. establishment of Export Processing Zone (EPZ) by the government, and also encouraging foreign investors to set up industries enhances increase of volume of exports and production of high quality goods, thus high value. On the other hand, international trade can impact negatively on the economy of Kenya. For example, over-revived of goods and trading country go bad, over-exploitation of non-renewable resources, for example, minerals, can lead to exhaustion. The role played by regional trading blocs in the economies of their respective regions. Trading blocs are associations formed between a group of neighboring countries with the purpose of promoting and influencing the directions of international trade. Some of the world's major trading blocs include European Economic Community, European Free Trading Association, Latin American Free Trade Association, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, Southern African Development Community, and the Economic Community of West African States. European Economic Community. This is an economic political bloc. Its formation dates back to 1951 when Belgium, France, West Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands and Italy formed European Local and Steel Community with the objective of ensuring peace by cooperating in trade matters. This community gave birth to European Economic Community in 1957 under the Rome Treaty. The custom duties were abolished and free movement of factors of production, that is capital and labor, was encouraged by the EEC and hence trade improved. Britain, Ireland and Denmark joined in 1973, and this fostered greater economic growth due to enlargement of market for goods and services. The European Economic Community was made a union, that is European Union, in 1993 after signing a magistracy treaty. It now made it closer towards political unity. Objectives of the European Union: elimination of trade barriers like custom duties and quotas on goods and services from member states, establishment of common internal tariffs on goods from member states, encourage free movement of persons, services, and capital between member states. It covers foreign affairs, security, and judicial concerns in the member states. Establish a monetary union which will bring out a single currency. Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA. This was established on 8 December 1994, although the treaty establishing it was signed on 5 November 1993 at Kampala, Uganda. It has 21 member states. It replaced the former Preferential Trade Area (PTA), which existed from 1981. The main focus of COMESA is to establish a large economic trading unit which is capable of overcoming some barriers that are faced by individual countries. Aims and objectives of COMESA: to attain sustainable growth and development of member state by promoting balanced and harmonious development of its production and marketing structure, to raise the living standards of the people, to foster close relation among member states, to promote joint development in all fields of economic activity and joint adoption of macroeconomic policies and programs, to cooperate in the creation of enabling environment to foreign, regional, and domestic investment, including the joint promotion of research and adaptation of science and technology for development, promotion of peace, security, and stability in the member states, and strengthening relations between the COMESA market and the rest of the world. Achievements of COMESA. COMESA member states have made great progress in the area of trade, transport, finance, development, technical cooperation, industry, and agriculture. Trade liberalization and facilitation measures are bearing fruits. Transport costs have been reduced. COMESA has established a bank. It has achieved investment in the region through bilateral agreements and export drives by individual member states. Formation of a clearing house based in Harare. Southern African Development Corporation (SADC). This was formed in 1992 in Windhoek, Namibia. This followed the 1980 Lusaka Declaration of Southern African Development Coordination Conference (SADC). The headquarters is at Gaborone, Botswana. It has 14 member states. The Economic Community of West African States (Ecowas). This was established in May 28, 1995 by the Treaty of Lagos. It has 16 member states. It focuses on provision of cooperation in all areas of economic and social sectors of the states. Objectives of ECOWAS: create a free trade area between the member states, coordinate and harmonize national economic and financial policies in order to enhance the effectiveness of the national, structural adjustments and economic reform programs, improve relationship between the member states, foster cooperation in specialized fields like infrastructure, trade, industry, and agriculture, uplifting the living standards of the member states, and creation of monetary union. Achievement of ECOWAS: improvement on fields of production like trade, transport, and communication. Adoption of a Defense Act that led to the establishment of a military wing of ECOWAS. Provision of wider market for goods. For example, Nigeria provides her petroleum to member states at lower prices. There is greater regional, social cooperation, that is, head of states meet regularly to solve problems that may face the region. East African Community. It was revived in 1999 after its collapse in 1978. It has 5 member states. Its objectives are: establish a customs union, establish a common market, establish a monetary, and to have a political federation. Achievements: improved trade amongst East African countries. Free movement of goods from Uganda and Tanzania into Kenya has been achieved. There is also reduced tariff charged on the Kenyan goods on entry into Uganda and Tanzania on a reducing basis until there will be no duty for 5 years. The 3 countries have agreed on a common tariff charged on non-members of the community. There are improved relations between the member states. Population.